Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name's Peter Smith and I'm a full-time serving soldier in the British Army, and I'm documenting my journey to replace my income using property as my vehicle of choice. So I do believe if you're a serving soldier and you are not building a property portfolio alongside your military career, you're missing out on the biggest opportunity that the military has to offer. So in this video, I want to show you a step-by-step process how you're able to scale a portfolio alongside your military career, so you're not reliant on a pension and you can leave on your own terms. If that sounds interesting, be sure to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on future weekly videos. Right, let's get into the video. So the strategy that I'm going to show you is something that I've actually implemented, and I'm living and breathing it and following the process. I've currently got 8 properties in my portfolio and I'm aiming to scale that to replace my income. So initially, to start, we need to make sure that you have financial discipline. If you haven't got your finance in order, then property investing probably isn't the avenue you want to be taking. I would say you need £20,000 to £30,000 in saving as a minimum. We're then going to utilise the Forces Help to Buy, which is an incentive the military offers serving personnel, where you can borrow up to 25% of your salary or £25,000. And this is an interest-free loan. So if you're not taking advantage of this, you're missing out on a huge opportunity. So with this money, you're going to use that to buy a property and you're going to put down a 10% deposit. So the property you're looking for needs to be something that you can add value, but it needs to be mortgageable because we're going to move into the property. So you're putting a 10% deposit down, you're going to move into the property, and then we're going to add value, utilising trades where you need to, but you're going to get your hands dirty, you'll learn lots of new skills, you'll keep the costs down as well on your first project. I've put here finance options, so if you don't have the 20 to 30k, maybe you have 5 or 10, this doesn't mean that you can't do this strategy, because we'll use the Forces Help to Buy for the deposit and some buying costs, such as your broker fees, solicitor fees, and then we can use 0% interest money transfer credit cards or purchase credit cards, and this will allow you to pay for equipment, for trades, and just to get the renovation done in a quicker time frame. Then we're going to sell the property. Now I'll show you on the board what that looks like in real time. So in this example, we're going to purchase a house for £200,000. It'll be a 10% deposit, so that's 20k, which we'll use the Forces Help to Buy. Stamp duty, as a first time buyer, there's 0 stamp duty up to 300,000. So for this, be 0. Huge savings for first time buyers. Other purchasing costs, so this would include your survey, broker fees, legal fees, and that will account to 2,800. We've then got the refurb costs. So you're going to do most of the work yourself, so we're going to keep the costs down, but this will come to around roughly £25,000 for this example. You've then got holding costs, so when you're renovating the property, this would be your utility bill, water bill, council tax, etc. I haven't included the mortgage cost for this, as it will be on a repayment mortgage and it's dependent on your interest rate. However, it will be paying down the loan. So holding costs for this for 9 months, I've got it at £3,000. We've then got selling costs. This will be your legal fees and the estate agent fees. So after we've renovated the property, we're looking to increase the value to £280,000. This would be indicated by comparables on the street. So with the research and due diligence we've done before purchasing the property. So the selling costs, typically the agent fee is 1% of the purchase price. So for this then, plus the legal fees, we're looking at 3,800. So if we're to add up all of these costs, it comes to £54,600. So that's all the money you've put in. We've also got an outstanding mortgage, and that is 180,000. And then when we sell the property for 280,000, we need to pay off the existing mortgage. So we've then got 100,000 left. You need to pay off your initial purchasing costs. This will allow you to repay your Forces Help to Buy loan, plus you get whatever money you put in. You're then left with a profit of £45,400. And best part as well, that is tax-free, so you'll pay no capital gains on that because it's a residential property that you've lived in. So once you've sold the property, you're now going to have your current capital is going to be £75,000. That's the 45 grand plus profit you made, plus the additional 30 grand you had savings. You're then going to move back into military accommodation. You've also gained experience. What we're going to do next then, so we're going to set up a limited company and we're going to use this to buy and hold property. And this is where we start to scale the portfolio. So for the next property that we're going to purchase, we're going to look for an area that has a relatively cheaper house prices compared to the rest of the UK. So in the first example, probably want to buy a property that's closer to where you're based, so you're able to commute in and to from work while renovating the property. With this one, you want to look for an area where you're going to be investing remotely, so you're going to be a little bit more hands-off on this, and this is where you're able to scale more effectively. So looking for areas particularly like North East, South Wales, areas in the Midlands where you can pick up properties under 100k. We're talking 2 to 3 beds, terrace properties. We're looking for a purchase price. In this example, let's say we purchase a property at £80,000, but we've done the due diligence and we know that that property will be worth 150 once it's done up. Because we're buying through a limited company, you will have to pay stamp duty as it's seen as an investment. You will pay £4,000 in stamp duty as it's a 5% on the purchase price. Other additional purchasing costs such as your legal fees, survey and broker fees, that will account to £2,800. To purchase this property, because it's going to need a renovation, we're going to use bridging finance. Typically when doing buy and hold or this buy, refurbish, refinance strategy, we're either purchasing with cash if you have it, but if not, we're going to use bridging finance, which will bridge the gap. It's effectively a short-term mortgage. If you want me to do more in-depth videos on this, then comment below bridging. The refurb cost is going to be slightly more on this one. Like I said, you're going to be remote investing, so you might want to do some of the work yourself. However, you're probably going to be relying on trades a lot more. We're then accounting for holding costs for £2,000 for the holding costs. Typically, you want this refurb to take no more than 12 weeks because we're on bridging finance. It's a higher interest rate. The quicker we can get off it, the better the return will be. So all costs then, including the total purchase price, is, just referring to my notes, £122,800. Correct me if I'm wrong, but so that's all money. You're not putting all that money down. Like I said, you're using bridging finance. They typically will give you a 75% loan to value, but where there's fees in that, it typically means you got to put a 30% down. But if you remember from previous deal, you've now got surplus capital of around £75,000. That puts you in a really strong position to purchase this property and still have enough money left over for any contingencies. Like I mentioned before, end value, we're looking to achieve 150. So once the work's been done, we'll look to refinance. We'll go to a lender and they'll get a valuer to come around and value the property once it's newly renovated. They're going to look around the property and see that it is worth 150 because we've got comparable evidence in a 1/4 mile radius to suggest, and it's a like for like. What's going to happen then, if they value it at 150, you're going to get a loan to value of 75%. LTV, loan to value. So 75% of this, because it's a buy-to-let product, you have to put a 25% deposit down. So they're going to hold that 25% deposit and they'll give you the remaining money, which accounts to 112,500. So 112,500. So we can see our buying costs here, everything added up. So the money, what has been put in, including the bridging finance, is 122,800. So that's the money the bank's going to give us after they've valued the property at 150. We subtract that from our purchasing costs and that gives us money left in, and that is £10,300 money left in that deal. So you've effectively bought a house for 150,000. You bought it for £10,300. If you were to buy that house outright, you'd have to put 25% deposit down on that, plus you'd have to pay stamp duty, probably talking £45,000 plus. The rent, what you'd be achieving on this property would be £900 per calendar month, and this is a typical deal that we do find and we source for ourselves in South Wales. You have a mortgage of roughly £500 currently on today's rate. There'll be management fees. Typically we get 10% management fees, so that'd be £90. Insurance, roughly what we pay on our properties is around £30. If we minus all of that from the £900, it leaves us with £280 net cash flow in your pocket every month the rest of your life. Remember, we've just left £10,000 in that deal to get £280 a month. So if we were to times this by 12, which is £3,360, and then we want to divide that by how much money we've left in times by 100, and that will give us our percentage. It's 32.62%, and that is a return on capital employed. So return on the money we've put in. So in the bank, you might be lucky to get 4%. You'd get 32.62% from this product for the rest of your life. And remember, you had the 75 capital to start. So yes, you've left in 10,300, so that has reduced your pot, but because you're financially disciplined and you're able to save money, you've also increased your monthly cash flow, meaning you'll be able to save more, and that will reduce this annually. So you'll probably be able to do at least one deal a year using this strategy. Alternatively, what you could do is perhaps buy one, flip one. So buy one and hold, and then buy one to sell. In that way, you're able to scale a portfolio, and you can go on to buy 5, 10 properties, replacing your income and allowing you to leave the military and not be reliant on the pension. Hopefully you found that useful. I would encourage you, if you are serving, utilize the Forces Help to Buy scheme. It's a great opportunity for you to get on the property ladder, and then you can move on to go and scale a portfolio. This is what I'm doing. I'm replacing my income using this strategy so I can leave the military and not be reliant on the pension. If you found that useful, please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.